This is WHYY-FM Philadelphia, WNJN-FM 89.7 Atlantic City, WNJZ 90.3 Cape May Courthouse, WNJB-FM 89.3 Bridgeton, WNJM 89.9 Manahawkin, and WNJS-FM 88.1 Berlin.
Funding for Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creators of MATLAB and Simulink software, accelerating the pace of engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com. From NPR and WBUR Boston, I'm Tanya Mosley.
I'm Robin Young. It's Here and Now. Coming up, President Trump won't commit to a peaceful transfer of power if he's defeated in November. Also, protests across the country over the decision not to charge the officers involved in the death of Breonna Taylor. We reflect on the sorrow of anti-racism scholar Ethan Campbell.
That morning transforms into seeking to transform our society.
And Gillian Flynn. She writes often needed escapist thrillers like Gone Girl and Sharp Objects. Now she's turned her talents to the dystopian TV drama Utopia, which includes viruses.
I love writing mysteries and I love writing thrillers because to me they're a great way to talk about a bigger theme.
Coming up, Here and Now.
The news is first.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The federal government is preparing to crack down on hospitals for not reporting complete COVID-19 data every day into a federal data system. That, according to internal draft documents obtained by NPR. NPR's Stan Stephan has this exclusive report.
Those limits were set at 25 for indoors and 250 people outdoors. The Wolf administration is appealing last week's ruling. A number of districts have already opted to go their own way. That means thousands of spectators could be in attendance at some weekend football games. New Jersey is giving out the overdose reversing drug naloxone at pharmacies across the Garden State this week. Naloxone is commonly referred to by its brand name Narcan. Human Services Commissioner Carol Johnson says the state wants to make it as easy as possible for residents to access the drug.
You can get Narcan for free with no name needed, no prescription needed, no insurance needed. You can just walk in and ask for it.
A full list of participating pharmacies is available at nj.gov. The state gave out some 32,000 doses of naloxone during a similar event last year. It'll be mostly cloudy this afternoon, topping out near 81. Right now, well, at least at last check, 74 degrees at 106. This is WHYY.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Umu, a cloud-based phone service for small businesses with an automated virtual receptionist and mobility features to run their businesses from anywhere. More at ooma.com.
From NPR and WBUR, I'm Tanya Mosley. I'm Robin Young. It's Here and Now. Today, protesters greeted President Trump with chants of "Vote him out" as he paid his respects to the late Justice Ginsburg at the Supreme Court. Trump's push to fill her vacancy despite her dying wishes to wait has set off a partisan firestorm, and he threw kindling on that fire yesterday by not committing to a peaceful transfer of power after the election. NPR national political correspondent Mara Liasson starts us off. Hi, Mara.
Hi, Robin.
So, Mara, let's set the scene. A reporter at a White House briefing asked Trump if he could commit to a peaceful transfer of power. He said, "We'll have to see. The ballots are a disaster." The reporter asked again, and here's what President Trump said.
Get rid of the ballots and we'll have a very peaceful, there won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll be a continuation.
Now, the president seemed to be referring there to mail-in ballots that he falsely claims will be fraudulent. There's been practically no fraud with ballots. The Biden campaign responded by saying the American people will decide this election, and the United States government is perfectly capable of escorting trespassers out of the White House. Remind us what they mean.
What Biden is talking about is if Trump is the clear loser, he will not be able to stay in the White House even if he doesn't concede. That's a simple scenario, but it's not the one that most people are worried about. The big question is, what if it's close? Trump seems to be assuming a close election where he possibly could be leading on election night in a long drawn-out process with a lot of irregularities as mail-in ballots are counted over the ensuing days and weeks. This is called the red mirage, where Trump would be leading in-person ballots on election night, and then it turns into the blue shift, where Biden starts picking up the lead as the mail-in ballots are counted. This is exactly what happened in the 2018 congressional elections. Trump, I think, is getting ready to say that any ballot that isn't counted on election day is fraudulent, and he's going to move to create a lot of confusion, challenging ballots, and for two reasons. Obviously, he wants to hold on to power, but also he can't go out of office being a loser. That's totally against his brand. He has to try to create the biggest conspiracy theory ever if he loses, which is that he was robbed. He's the rightful voter.
And election officials are saying the count may take longer this year, but there's always ballots counted after Election Day. Do we have a sense of when, the count could be completed?
Well, it could take weeks. I mean, it really depends. Now, the important thing to remember is Florida and Ohio, those are two pretty big important states, they actually count their absentee ballots first. So Florida is not one of those states that's going to be taking weeks and weeks to count. There are other battleground states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, that do take longer. So I guess everybody who hopes for a proper future for American democracy should be hoping that we have a clear result on election night, one way or the other.
We know the Republican Senator Mitt Romney called out the president on Twitter, saying any suggestion that a president might not respect this constitutional guarantee of a peaceful transfer is unthinkable and unacceptable. But Mitt Romney is sort of sidelined in his own party. Have any of the Republicans said anything about the
Yes,
president's
absolutely.
threat?
Yes, absolutely. Liz Cheney, part of the House Republican leadership, has said there will be a peaceful transfer of power. The Senate Majority Leader, Portman, Ben Sass. There have been a lot of Republicans who have said, yes, there will be a peaceful transfer of power. However, this is an extraordinary thing. In the United States of America, we actually have to get assurances from Congress that there will be a peaceful transfer of power because the president himself will not commit to that. That's just stunning.
That's the bedrock of a democracy. NPR national political correspondent Merle Lyson, thank you.
Thank you.
Minutes after the grand jury announcement that no charges would be filed against 2 of the Louisville police officers involved in the shooting death of Breonna Taylor, people took to the streets in places like New York, Denver, and Portland. Here's Portland, Oregon last night. 6 months ago, Taylor was in her apartment when police broke through the door for what they said was a late-night drug raid. The boyfriend opened fire, saying he believed there were intruders. Police fired at least 30 shots into their apartment, which authorities say was justified because they had been fired upon. The only charges in this case are against one of those officers whose shots went into another apartment. This outcome, for many, is another example of the pervasive injustices in our country. Ibram Kendi is an author and historian and founding director of Boston University's Center for Anti-Racist Research. Ibram Kendi, welcome back to Here and Now.
Thank you for having me.
Doctor, yesterday, when the announcement came down, you went on Twitter and you wrote this, quote, "To not indict the officers for murder is to claim Breonna Taylor killed herself. Racist America constantly kills black people and then tells black people we killed ourselves. Racism extends past death." Say more.
So you just have so many black people who've been killed by the police, who've been killed by COVID-19, who've been killed by vigilantes. And then when it comes to bringing them justice, by declaring that they were not in the wrong, justice is always lacking.